share it on my page.
Right. Nice if it works. Fine if it works.
Hold on, you guys.
How did you get that to work? 'Cause this one's not doing it. Did you do something different?
No, I just started over.
Whoa, what's happening?
What happened?
Came off the
Oh, I must have did it when I moved this. Hey Henry, like and share this for me, please. Let me know if you can hear us because we was having technical issues. So let me know if you can hear it. Is yours working?
Yes. But why is it telling me?
I had to rotate the phone because it was the other way. No, go the other way.
It's saying I
Which
can't
way do you want?
record.
Why?
Look.
Oh, because you already started. Once you started, you can't turn it.
Really?
Hey Henry, can you hear us? Okay, Henry. Let me know if you can hear me. Thank you for the love. If you can hear me, let me know you can hear us, and I know you always share the video, so thank you for that.
Okay. So you're saying start this way and it'll work?
Because it's still the other way. Let me see. Let's see if it's gonna do it. Don't touch it.
Mm-mm.
You gotta stop it altogether and end it, and then start it with it that way. You did?
I did. I deleted it.
Okay. Why is not rotating?
Rotate it like this?
And now rotate it. Now rotate it. Now start it. That's great.
It's not doing it.
Try it. Just try it and see if it'll do it.
So we can just.
Thank you guys for coming over. Go ahead and share out the show. We're going to be talking about Beat the Holiday Blues. Give y'all some tips that y'all can use for the holidays.
This camera went out. I mean, I could just use this one. But
I'm sorry. I moved that.
Get it back on.
No, I moved it.
I reconnected it, but it's still not picking it up. It's not recognizing it. I could just use this one, but I prefer to use that.
Well, you haven't started the show, right?
I didn't start the show.
Huh?
This one?
I did that.
Okay, this one over here.
I'll just use this one. This is okay.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Henry.
And since you were sitting there,
We're having a
we
little
had to
technical
start it.
difficulty, so give us 1 moment.
Let me try to share it right here.
Did it do it?
I have to
Yes,
re-sign
please.
in
Okay.
again, so I was hoping to fix it without me signing in.
Okay.
Got it. Ain't no sense.
You guys are good?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Hey, Whit.
Ready, ladies? Yeah, if you can bring your mic closer to your guest. Pull it even up closer. There we go.
intellectualradio.com. Feed your brain. Feed your brain.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello. You have tuned in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It is Health and Wellness Monday, and I'm so excited you have decided to tune in. We're going to be talking about Beat the Holiday Blues. And today's show is being sponsored by Allstate with Paula Kellyw, located at 327 East Glenwood Lansing Road in Glenwood, Illinois. She can be reached at 708-758-3300. Also by Sisters Working It Out. They are a health advocacy in motion, looking for ambassadors to go in the community to spread the news on cancer. If that is you, go to sistersworkingitout.org for more information. Our quote of the day is coming from Maya Mendoza, and she says, "Don't let a bad day make you feel like you have a bad life." Joy to the world, 'tis the season to be jolly. Festive music fills the air, holiday cheer abounds. Everyone is happy, right? Wrong. Truth be told, many people feel sad, lonely, depressed, anxious at this time of the year. But how could that be? Well, my guest today is going to help us beat the holiday blues. I have with me none other than, and she's not a stranger to the show, Doc Michelle, who is a healthy solutions expert. She has 20 years experience as a family physician, and she is impacting lives every single day. So welcome back.
Thank you, Rochelle. It's great to be here. I'm nursing a little bit of a sore throat, going around, getting a little bronchitis, but I am thrilled to be here with your audience today.
Yeah, well, we are excited because we know that this particular subject I think it's a silent subject. Not many people really talk about it. Not many people want you to know that they're suffering from it, but we're going to shed some light on it today, and we are hoping that when we are done with the show today, that you're going to walk away empowered. So we're talking about Beat the Holiday Blues. And for those of you who are listening in on any type of social media, we are live on intellectualradio.com. You can listen to us on YouTube. You can go to Spreaker later on in the week. If you missed this show, just type in Intellectual Radio. And we want you to clue in on Beat the Holiday Blues. Let's start with talking about what is the Holiday Blues.
Right. So, Rochelle, you said something at the start about, everybody should be holly and jolly and happy and just looking forward to the season. And for some people, they feel the complete opposite. And simply put, it's just feeling that, like you said, depression, anxiety, overwhelm that comes with the expectations that we put on ourselves around this holiday season. And not even just the expectations. Part of it, too, is if you have suffered a loss around this time of year in the past, that can bring you down as well. And we know, too, that in addition to the holiday blues, there are other reasons people can feel depressed around this time, which we'll talk about a little bit, too, which is, seasonal affective disorder, when you have these short gloomy days. So the holiday blues is really that sense of depression and anxiety and overwhelm that comes with the holiday season. And because we call it the holiday blues, because usually after the holidays have passed, you feel much better, right? That load is lifted. Now, some people may have chronic depression, which is a different topic that needs to be addressed as well. But it all is really dealing with our mental health and mental clarity.
I had a question before it slipped my mind. So those who are clinically diagnosed as being depressed, do they feel really overwhelmed at this time of the year because they're already depressed?
Right. So both things happen, right? For people who are already chronically depressed, this can make their symptoms even more amplified. Or there are people who normally don't feel depressed that can just feel so much worse over this season. As we said, lack of sleep, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, just a feeling of sadness and feeling blue that comes along with this season.
Well, another thing that stuck out is when you said expectations. That particular word really could drag an individual down.
Yes, because especially in our social media age, let me just say, when you are on social media and everyone, as we know, posts their best lives on social media, which is not really your true life because everyone is going through something, right? But if you're looking at that expectation is like, oh, well, my friend, Sarah has, she's got this whole beautiful house decorated and an awesome tree, and I need to, and you look at, I need to do that, and she's planning this great vacation, and right, and so we then start to look at ourselves like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my life, and how come I'm not doing all these things? I tell people, sometimes you have to take a social media break from December 1st to December 31st. Not a bad idea. If you're one of those people that you're always on social media and you feel like everyone's lives is better than yours, and it gets more amplified around this season where everybody's supposed to be so joyous and happy. Take a social media break. Nothing wrong with that. Take 30 days off. Don't get pulled into what you think is everyone else's perfect life.
I like that. So don't feel bad if you have to detox, from these different social medias, because you can be depressed. You get on and Sally got a new car, and you're like, my regular car in the driveway, and all of a sudden you depressed and you envious of Sally because she got a new car, but you don't know what Sally had to do to get that new car. So I agree with you about taking a break, although I have never taken a break, probably more than maybe a day or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because of the radio show and the things that I do for my non-for-profit. I tend not to take a break, but I agree that you do. Sometimes I won't post. Like I may go on and read, but I won't post, or I'll go on and post my stuff then get off.
Right.
Because you can drive yourself in depression just thinking that other people have this perfect life. So the doc said to detox from social media. If you're listening to detox, take a 30-day break. You're not going to miss anything. You're going to come back. People still going to be lying on social media, so you're going to be all right.
Right. You'll come back and everything will be okay. And that's the thing. We think that if we didn't have it, we would just miss so much of what's going on. But you really won't. And what that'll force you to do as well is pick up the phone and call people.
I love it.
Let's talk to people over this time, because guess what? If you're feeling overwhelmed, you are probably not the only one. And what would it do to someone if you actually called them instead of a text, instead of a social media hi? That alone is one of the things to beat holiday blues. We talk about reaching out to friends, family, making a phone call or a video call, right? Because that connection with people can really help bring them through a down moment.
I totally agree. I mean, most of us don't even know other people's phone numbers because we rely on our phones to do everything for us. So, I mean, you just don't know what you could do for somebody. Somebody could be contemplating suicide. Somebody could be, just down, and then just to hear your voice, just to, versus you texting them, hey, girl, it doesn't have the same tone. So try to get away from that too, and I agree. Pick up the phone.
Yes.
So I mean, the doctor is giving y'all a prescription right here, right? She said detox. Now she's telling y'all to actually pick up the phone and talk to people and let them know that you care and that you're thinking about them during this holiday season, so that they won't have to be blue. So what are some of these symptoms that we need to watch out for ourselves and our loved ones when it comes to the holiday blues?
Right. So we touched on, just feeling a little bit of sadness, like things that you normally would be able to do, you just don't even feel like doing it anymore. It might even be something simple like going to the grocery store. All of a sudden, you feel much more comfortable just sitting home in your pajamas all day, right? Or feeling of overwhelmed when you have to go out Christmas shopping, right? Because it's crowded. Then you're also feeling a little financial stress because we try to keep up with the expectations of gift giving and giving the perfect gift. So it's kind of two extremes too. It's the people who are overbooked with so many things to do, or the people who feel left out and have nothing to do, right? And those two extremes can lead people to feeling loneliness, and sadness around this time.
This is my thing, that people need to learn how to say no. Like sometimes people will overbook you and you feel the sensation of I'm overwhelmed. And sometimes we don't know how to tell people, no, I don't want to come to that. no, I'm busy, you know, we drain ourselves trying to please people when all you gotta do is say, no,
Right.
I'm taking time out for me, and don't feel guilty.
Yes, yeah, and that's part of it, because for those people who feel overbooked, taking care and having self-care for yourself,
I like that.
whatever that is for you, it might be going to get a massage, taking some time to meditate, to do some yoga, to do something that's more self-reflecting of yourself, because yes, it is the time of giving, but it's also okay to say, no, I need to take some time for me, because you can really just put so much out that you don't have enough inside to take care of yourself.
So at some point, you have to preserve yourself and say, you know what, we think that it's all about financial giving, It's many ways that you can give people things without coming out of your pocket. So we have to learn how to be creative, so we won't get stressed out. If it stressed you to go to the store and buy people stuff, then stop doing that.
Right. That's okay. Stop doing that. You can find, as you said, lots of creative ideas. Make something, bake for someone,
Yes.
make them cookies, write them a letter. No one writes
I like that.
letter anymore, right? Or if you're one of those people that might be feeling left out, volunteer. Right, volunteerism.
Yes.
Go and play with some puppies, or give your time at a shelter. All of those things can make us feel so good when you think that you have nothing, or just to feel good about giving to others that doesn't take from you financially.
I think if you're out there volunteering, then you don't really have time to think about, oh, I'm depressed, because you see somebody that's less off than you,
That's right.
and it should make you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have any problems,
Yeah. I mean, even when you're going through your own struggle, it always feels good to give, because then you feel also appreciated, right?
Yes.
Those people are appreciative of whatever you can do for them. It's also the time you can give like old clothes. That's a good feeling too. Not even that you're interacting with someone, but you get that feeling that someone will benefit. Right, all through our grocery stores, they have boxes to give your
Yes.
coats and the stuff that's cluttering up. So I think any opportunities to do those things make us feel good. We have to think about, what's important to us, right? And to just know that this is just a season, right? And that it will pass. But there are little tools and tricks that you can do to get through it.
It's just a season. I like that. Did we get through all the symptoms?
Yeah.
We got through all the symptoms.
Mhm.
So what would put somebody at risk for the holiday blues?
Right. So there's some risk for people who, as we already said, have chronic depression. The symptoms can get worse. There is some family history as well. So if someone in the family has depression, in the immediate family, you may also be at risk for some holiday blues, as well as that seasonal affective disorder. And then, as we talked about, if you've had loss around this time of year, a lot of people, hate the holidays for that reason. And that's the time where you may want to reach out to someone. If that family member, if you have family that's not close, reach out, do a video call. Just seeing somebody's smiling face can lift your spirits as well. So those little things can put you at risk. I'm so glad that we're talking about it, because people don't talk about chronic depression, holiday blues, seasonal affective disorder. Nobody talks about mental health, especially in our communities. So whenever we can kind of share some of that information with folks, we're just thrilled to do it, right? The more you know, the more you can take action.
Yes, the more you grow. And we're all about action on this show.
Yes.
We're talking about the holiday blues. We are live on Intellectual Radio, and we're talking to Doc Michelle, and she is giving us some tips on how to beat the holiday blues. So if you're listening on any type of social media, like and share this show, that's so that others can get the information. And if you have a question or a comment, you can always call in. We value your opinion on Warriors Talk. It's 708-223-8953. Again, 708-223-8953. The holiday blues. The reason why, when I think about the holiday, like this time of year, and I think I talked about this last time on the show, my dad, this was his favorite time of the year, like his favorite time of the year, and my dad passed in April of 2016, and he would decorate the house. When I say decorate, the house would be decked out. It would be the brightest house on the block. So all the other houses on the block would try to compete with my dad, you know, putting up their lights.
Awesome.
They never could because he just go all out.
Right.
But, you know, everybody would always like drive past because they want to see, okay, what is he going to do this year? So for Christmas, that's what I look forward to, because I used to do it with him, and then once I got grown and moved away, you know, I didn't keep it up. But he would do it every year. So now when I go to my parents' house, my mom's house, she just have one string of lights in the window. And it's like, what is that?
Right.
And she's like, I don't feel like putting up all of that. And, you know, it was like, okay, we'll help you put it up. She's like, no, I don't want to do all of that. And so that, it kind of depresses me because I know that it was his favorite time of the year. So I really don't really look forward to it.
Yeah, and that's, you know, for your mom too, it's difficult for her because she's remembering just as you are that was his favorite time of the year. The great thing is, as you're doing, is spend time with her. It never, you know, it's not that you can take away someone's grief or sadness, but we want to make it just a little bit more joyous and happy for them. You can ask her too, like, is there anything we can do? Can we put up more lights? Is that something you want to do with us? But if she's open to it. But for a lot of people this time of year, because of that, it really can affect how they perceive that holiday and not really looking forward to it for those reasons. And that's why it can be really overwhelming because, again, everywhere there's good cheer and happiness and joy, you know, but you may not be feeling that way. But it's okay to understand that that's not just for you, it's everyone. Anyone can feel that way, and you don't have to suffer in silence. We want you to talk about it. You know, find that trusted friend or resource that can make you smile and just make it a little bit easier through this season.
So it's important to talk about it and not keep it to yourself, because that person may be going through the same thing. When we think about the holiday blues, are we thinking about something? We're not thinking about something permanent. We're thinking about something temporary. Like you said, when the season ends, then that should be going away.
That should be going away. But if
it
it doesn't, that's a different thing, right? If it doesn't go away after the holidays, which can be very stressful, you may be having some chronic depression, in which case we need to talk about that, refer you to therapy, you know, if you need medication, you know, other holistic things, meditation, yoga, other things can help to kind of just make people feel better. But when we talk about holiday blues, it's really around the holidays. But if you're noticing even after the holidays that you just feel kind of blah, you just really don't want to do anything as much as, you know, you want to. When I see patients, I always ask them, I said, well, in general, do you think you feel happy? Because if someone feels happy, they'll be able to say, oh, yeah, I feel happy. But if they have to think about it, and then I'm like, well, maybe there is an issue there we need to address, right? Because if you ask someone if they feel depressed, they may not recognize that what they feel is depression. So you have to, I ask it maybe a different way, right? Would you say that in general you wake up and you feel pretty happy? You feel good and ready to go? And if it's like, no, it takes me an hour to get out of bed, I really don't feel like doing anything, then we talk about that further. But holiday blues should be resolved after the holidays. But there's always chronic depression that may be underlying some of that.
So if you're feeling like, you know, the things that you normally would do, you just don't want to do those things anymore. You just don't have the desire to do those things. Then something should click in your head and be like, okay, what's going on with me? You know, something is not right.
Yeah, but you know, for people who have had chronic depression, just a little aside, they felt that way so long that that's their norm. That's what they think is their normal way to feel. That's what I do. And so for providers and even, you know, for friends, if you are suspecting someone maybe feeling down or just not willing to do the things that you all used to do together as friends, you may want to ask, because they're not going to volunteer that. Again, the mental stigma, the stigma of mental illness and just depression and anxiety. So it's important too, in a loving, caring way, for friends to even ask, you know, how are you doing today? You feeling happy? You know, what's going on? And it really start a conversation.
Wow, this is heavy. because I know a lot of people that are probably going through it that don't know that they're going through it. It kind of reminds me of diabetes. Like, so many people are underdiagnosed that really don't know that they have it, but they have it.
Right.
You know, and then until something, you know, major happens, and then you find out, oh, I'm depressed.
Right.
You know, something is going on with me.
Yes.
So, if you are just tuning in, we are talking about Beat the Holiday Blues, and we are coming up on Christmas, and New Year's is coming up, and we know that a lot of people may be going through so many things. Around the holidays, people lose loved ones, and they don't want to celebrate, and they think about the money aspect of it, having to shop and not even having the money. And so we're talking about tips that you can find out if you're depressed or someone in your family or your surrounding could be suffering from the holiday blues. And as we said earlier, you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to suffer in silence. Talk to somebody. Figure out what's going on with you so that you can either get some medicine if you need it, or you can sit down and talk to someone so that you can, you know, clear yourself of this. You don't have to walk around with this heaviness on you when there's things that you can do. So the next thing I want to talk about was, we talk about all the time adults going through things because we're the ones shopping, we're the ones, you know, stressing about where we're going to go, what we're going to do. But then what about children?
Yeah. So, you know, of course, in children, it's not recognized or diagnosed as much. But I would imagine that if the parental stress can definitely have a reaction in children, right? They feel that stress that we are going through, right? And for children, we know that they're not really going to express that in the correct way. It may be expressed as, quote, acting out or just being irritable or things like that. But we have to recognize that too, that when we as the adults feel stressed, then we become irritable, short-tempered. And I think of how does that affect the children in their lives, right? So it's important for us to recognize what we're going through so that the kids don't really are not affected by that, but not really recognized in children, although children can have chronic depression for sure. And just to say too, with the holiday blues and chronic depression, one of the things that can be affected is sleep. And actually, the lack of sleep can make you feel more depressed and irritable. And in this stressful time, that's the one thing I always say that people will shorten, right? I have so much to do, I can get by with 3 hours of sleep, right? But we know that the lack of sleep actually increases the stress hormones, cortisol. So we're in this kind of catch-22. And myself, I take some little sleep strips with melatonin and serotonin in them, which is our natural sleep hormones. We make both melatonin and serotonin in our bodies, but sometimes it's out of balance and you need that to be corrected. So, you know, there are things that people have to recognize that can help, right? So make sure you're getting adequate sleep, okay? 7 to 8 hours every night. Don't shortchange yourself. I know, right? But that's what our body needs. Because for most people, if you ask them, are you waking up feeling well rested and ready to go? The answer is usually no, not really, right? And even when we're in the bed actually laying down, you're not getting restful sleep, which we call the REM restful sleep. When you're not getting that, then you're still increasing your stress hormones in your body, which makes all of the other stuff harder to deal with, right? So that's important in exercise as a way to deal with the holiday blues. Get out there, a 30-minute walk, do some activity, because exercise increases your natural endorphins, the stuff that our body makes to make us feel good, to make us get that natural high. We hear runners talking about, right? That's why they love to do it. You don't have to run a marathon, but any type of activity like that, 30 minutes on a stationary bike, 30-minute walk, do something, releases those natural endorphins in our bodies, so we'll feel better naturally without medications.
Without medications, I like that. We are, again, you're listening to Intellectual Radio, and before we go into our break, we're talking to Dr. Michelle, and we're talking about Beat the Holiday Blues. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, as it relates to the holiday blues, what does diet has to do with that? What role does diet play and the Holiday Blues. So don't go nowhere, we'll be right
We'll be
back.
right back.
Intellectualradio.com. Feed your brain.
Touch all the little stuff. The mic's off, right? Okay.
Come on.
So, yeah, so some of the things, like we talk about, spend time with people, give back, don't compare yourself to others, take that social media break, sweat it out, get some sun.
Get your shine on.
Get some sun. That's kind of, that can transition us into the seasonal affective
Get your
disorder.
glow up.
Try to have fun, be honest about how you're feeling. We talked about that, ask for help.
One
Get
time.
disorders.
One time. For the babies
Good.
on the south side.
Yeah, you were brought up, learn to say no. I like that.
The west side. The west side. The north side.
I was thinking of these
Shot
when it comes to anything. One was like the suicide rate, like this or this. Because some people think the suicide rate is higher, and it's not. So that was it said fact or fiction. Positive thinking, like people say, oh, just be positive and that'll help you get out of being depressed.
Just so that's a factor of fiction.
I think that's fiction.
It's more having the support, the good, for self-help. Could it be sad? Yeah, I like that. And the sad is so, the acronym is so perfect.
I'm trying to invite people in. That's why I'm
Okay.
going like this, 'cause I'm
Oh,
trying
okay.
to like invite people in.
There's something incredible within the meeting of the minds. Like, if you will be kind, spare our brother a dime, he can take a red line to 100 like
You know when you're ready, ladies.
and you wouldn't mind because God had
5, 4, 3, 2.
ageless.
And this is Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell here on Intellectual Radio. Again, we're talking about the Holiday Blues, and we're talking about Beat the Holiday Blues. Before we get back into our subject, the second half of the show has been sponsored by Emanuel Church of God in Christ, located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, with Pastor Michael Richardson. And at Emanuel, we are building upon a solid foundation. The show has also been sponsored by Mary Kay with Gloria Dotson. She's catering to all of your needs from head to toe. You can go to marykay.com/GDOTSON. And if you're looking for cancer support, Sisters Working It Out have a cancer support group that meets every second Tuesday. It's taking place at Miles Square Health Center at 641 West 63rd Street in Chicago from 5:30 to 7:30. To sign up, you can call 312-754-3053, or you can email sistersworkingitout.org. sistersworkingitout.org. And make sure you tell them that Warriors Talk sent you. So again, you are tuned into Intellectual Radio. We are talking to Doc Michelle, and she's actually lending us her expertise on Beat the Holiday Blues. And we talked about so much. We talked about detoxing, we talked about saying no. And so what I wanted to ask her right now, and we talked about getting help, which is so important when it comes to this particular disease, I'm gonna call it. What we want to talk about is how important does diet play in this?
Yeah. Well, I am always talking about healthy, nutritious diet, plant-based foods, because that is where we get our energy. When you eat foods that are high in fat, like French fries and burgers and heavy steaks, it takes a lot in your body to digest those foods, and so it takes energy away from the other parts of your body. Part of why you get tired after you eat is because the blood flow that normally is going to your limbs and to your brain is some of it's diverted to your stomach to digest that food. And so for foods that are kind of high fat and heavy, more blood, and it has to go to your stomach, taking it away from your brain, so you just feel real sluggish. And then there are energy producing foods, right? Our plant-based foods that give us more vitamin B's, our vegetables, our Brussels sprouts and broccolis, and those kind of things gives us those micronutrients, because we talk a lot about the macronutrients, your fats, your carbohydrates, your proteins. But the micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals, right? Those magnesiums and vitamin B's and vitamin C's and all of those things help our bodies to the cells that fire in your brain to keep you alert. That's what that does, right? So if you're not getting the right vitamins and minerals, which we get from our plant-based diets, then you're not going to feel your best, right? How many people know that when they eat, I'm going to say lighter foods like your salads and your vegetables and your soups with lots of grains and lentils, and you feel better, you don't feel so sluggish. But when you eat a cheeseburger and fries and you have that heavy meal, you feel it. You want to go straight and take a nap because all the blood is going there to help digest those foods that take so much longer. So in general, nutrition plays a part in how we feel, in that there are foods that give us those micronutrients and vitamins that allow our brain cells and the neurons in there to fire and keep us alert, whereas the other foods don't do that. They make us feel more sluggish. So in general, yes, it really, really does play a part.
Wow. You know what I was thinking while you were saying all of that, which is very important. Because I think people don't realize, where you get how you get your energy and why you don't have energy.
Right.
I've heard somebody say, like, give your system a rest. Like, don't eat for a day or so, so that your system can rest. Because we're using it all the time. But when does it get a chance to, like, just rest?
Right. And
food.
Yeah. And that's why, when we talk about giving your system a rest, it's usually either liquids, or it's usually plant-based, okay, right? Simple things that are easier to digest as opposed to those heavier meals, right? So giving your gut, which everything you eat has to go through your gut, get absorbed, right? We all need a natural cleanse, and part of that is eating those foods that move through our system easier, that's easier to digest. That way, and that's a conversation for another talk, that way your organs and your pancreas and all those things that help digest food are not working so hard all the time.
And help keep our arteries from being clogged up.
Yes.
Oh,
so, yeah. We can do a whole talk on a Mediterranean diet and what works and why these things are good.
Awesome. I would love to do that. So we're talking about Beat the Holiday Blues, and we know that many of us have something in our lives that make us feel a little sad. And the holidays should not be one of them. This is a time where we should be celebrating, families coming in, and we're spoiling our kids, and this is a time for us to just most of the time when we can all get together and just enjoy each other. So we should not be sad around the holidays. But we know that sad does exist. But do you really know what sad means?
Yeah, so we talked about like the holiday blues, and then there's actually SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder, right? Which actually is a real thing that happens when the days become these shorter, right? We're coming upon the shortest day of the year, the first day of winter, right? And so people start to feel gloomy, usually late fall, all through winter, and then start to feel better in the spring and summer. And that really is because the short days affect your natural melatonin and serotonin that our bodies make. And so with those things not being in balance as much because the sun helps your melatonin and your serotonin and your vitamin D, right? And when we're not getting any of that in Illinois specifically, you can feel sad, seasonal affective disorder. You feel gloomy. You just have low energy. You don't feel like doing anything. We talked about difficulty sleeping or oversleeping that can happen. We start to crave more carbohydrates and have weight gain. And you can see that a lot of it kind of may overlap in symptoms, right? Is it the holiday blues? Is it seasonal affective disorder, which would probably start earlier than the holiday blues, because that's going to start in November time, and then you start to feel those symptoms come through. And there's actually, in addition to the other things that we've talked about, to treat holiday blues and depression, like exercise and talking to people and reaching out, because this is affected by the shortened days and lack of natural sunlight. The therapy that works really well for seasonal affective disorder is a light box, which you can find on any of your online stores. But it's a box about the size of an iPad, and it gives you that bright white light. And you sit in front of it in the morning for about 45 minutes to an hour. You could be on your computer. You don't even have to look at the light. The fact that the light is shining and getting into your eyes and your retina sends a signal to the brain, and you feel better. And it usually doesn't happen. If you use it consistently for a few days to a week, you'll start to feel better. So I had patients who I had to say, maybe just get a light box. It's like $10 on your favorite online shopping site. And that can also help the seasonal affective disorder.
Wow. So you don't have to be sad. There's so many things that you can do to rectify that problem, but you got to take action, and you got to do it. It's for your health. We talked about self-care, which is very important, but it starts with you first. So if you don't take the initiative to say, okay, something is wrong, or go to the doctor and be like, I'm not feeling right, and even the people around you, pay attention to the people that are around you. That includes children, because sometimes we leave the children out and we don't think that they're depressed. Pay attention to the people around you, what's going on around you. Check on people, make that phone call, do that face-to-face, so that we can make sure that we all are living healthy lives.
Yeah, and check on your strong friends. Someone said that to me the other day, right? It's the ones who always seem to have it together.
Okay.
I'm fine. What you need, right?
I'm good.
No, check on them and look them in the eye and say, hey, how are you doing?
I want to see you.
Right. Are you doing okay? What can I do for you? Let's go out and have, lunch or whatever, right? It's the strong ones that need really our help, and a call can go a long way.
Call can go a long way. I like that. There are so many different myths when it comes to the holiday blues, and one of the myths was that just get over. One of them was not just get over it. Think positive, just be happy. And I don't know why people always think. I know it's so cliche. You gotta be positive in order to get through it. If you have a positive mind, you can get through it. I always find that it's the people that really ain't going through nothing that always tell you that, because they're not going through nothing, but they want you to remain positive.
Right. And we know that part of depression, and like I just said, the seasonal affective disorder, there's certain things that happen in the body that are a chemical imbalance, especially with depression, right? Yes. There's a chemical imbalance in the brain. So I explain it like, just like we need to treat your diabetes or your hypertension with medication or with diet, we have to do certain things to help you feel better. For some, it may be medication. For some, it may be talking with someone. So for some, it may be, looking at natural supplements or something to help them feel better. But that, oh, you can just will yourself through it. What's wrong with you? Just
Right.
get up and get out. It's not that easy. It really isn't. And that's why mental illness really got that stigma, that because it looked like you were just weak. Why can't you do this? Be strong, get up, But it's not that easy. There is actual changes that occur in the brain that can be corrected either with continual therapy, medications, meditation to help kind of put things back in balance. There's lots of treatment options from medications to holistic things, but it's not just get over it.
I like that you said it can be corrected, because some people, their fear may be like, well, I probably got to deal with this for the rest of my life, and it can be corrected. But if we don't know that something is wrong with you, if you're hiding it, if you're trying to cover it up, then you're hurting yourself. So get help, because this is something that can be prevented and it can be controlled, and you don't have to suffer again in silence. We talked about on break about suicide, because we do know that some people get depressed, and during the holidays they may commit suicide.
Yeah, but I mean, the myth is that we think that the suicide rates, there's a myth that the suicide rate is highest around the holidays, but actually studies don't pan out to that. It's actually, I think they said right around August or June. It's usually the summer months. So yeah, even though a fair amount of people feel those holiday blues and depression, and you think, that would spar increased suicide rates, but not in studies. It doesn't pan out that way. Again, maybe it's that they recognize, those people with holiday blues, they recognize that this is a season, right? And they usually will feel better, come the springtime. Same thing with seasonal affective disorder, right? They recognize, because usually, especially with seasonal affective disorder, it's occurring every fall and winter, right? And they recognize that's what happens, and they know that they can, help with the light box therapy. Maybe sometimes if it becomes so symptomatic, sometimes we actually will put a patient on an antidepressant if those symptoms are so debilitating and none of the holistic treatment options work. But you're so right. I mean, really, this program is for people to understand that they're not alone, that if they are feeling a certain way, that there are options available to you, that if you're listening and you think, oh, my friend so-and-so has been showing some signs, or I'm really worried about her, pick up the phone and call, talk to her, ask her and say, I'm worried about you. Really, how are you doing, right? Because those questions can really prompt discussion. We get, prideful, and no one really wants to ask for help when they need it.
Sure.
So if you're the one out there that you're recognizing that someone may be hurting or in trouble, go ahead and reach out to them. Very important.
Takes a couple of seconds to reach out. So if you want to help somebody, like Dr. Michelle was saying, she was giving you just tips that you can do to help somebody, to maybe even get them talking about what's going on in their life. You can also include them in on things that you're doing. Invite them out. Don't overdo it, because we don't want to extend anybody, because they're learning to say no. But include them in on some stuff that you're having, so they won't feel left out. You can also lend a hand. Hey girl, what are you doing? I cooked a meal. I'll bring it over to you.
Yes.
They may not feel like cooking.
Yes.
Be a good listener. Like she said, call them and just listen. Sometimes we want to offer our advice, and we want to throw all these things at people. Like she was saying, yo, girl, you're not depressed. You're all right. Just go pray about it and you'll be all right. But listen to somebody and encourage them to get help. Encourage them to get help and let them know, and go with them, because sometimes they may not want to go by themselves. Make the appointment for them. Go with them. There are so many things that we can do to help someone not suffer from the holiday blues. Did we cover everything?
I think we did, ReShell. I think we did. I think we really, touched on, the blues, sad, chronic depression a little bit, how to recognize that might be you, if you're just feeling kind of blah and you're like, oh, I don't really want to do anything, or you're just feeling completely overwhelmed at the thought of having to do, certain activities or plan for family coming in. you know, or even if you're the person who doesn't have a lot of family, right? And you know this is the time for family and you're feeling kind of left out, there are other places that you can feel that sense of family. It may be church, it may be volunteering, you know, talking or getting together one-on-one with a friend, right? It doesn't always have to be that traditional, typical kind of family setting. So just to recognize, you know, that these feelings are occurring, and knowing that there's certain things that you can do. Get enough sleep, exercise, which is going to give you your natural high. You're going to feel great as well. Making sure that you're eating healthy, and actually this is the season of alcohol consumption.
Yes.
That's actually not great at this time of year, because it actually can act as a depressant, and it can amplify your feelings of sadness and feeling blue. Where we think, oh, I'm feeling bad, I'm going to reach for some alcohol to make me feel better. It's going to do the opposite. So really to be aware of those things.
Or some other type of drug.
Or some other thing we might do.
Try to cover up what we're doing. What about, I was just looking at my notes, and what about just you having this feeling that you're just not jolly? Just accept that feeling and not, because it could not be the holiday blues. It could be just you're just not feeling jolly this time of the year. So accept those feelings.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stressful time, right? And as I started to say, it's a season, and it should pass when the season passes. But if you always are feeling kind of down, you know, then we may need to talk about chronic depression and ongoing, you know, symptoms. But recognize that it's not only you. It's normal to have some of those feelings around this time of year, because especially when you're looking on social media, and we talked about everybody's lives is just perfect on social media, it can make you feel a little down, overwhelmed. I agree with taking that social media break. Take a break from December 1st to the 31st, or November 25th to December 26th, whatever you need to do, so that you don't have to be overwhelmed with those images over and over again, because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, I hear some people say, I'm taking a hiatus right now from.
Yes.
And you do. You need that. So if you are just tuning in, we're listening to Dr. Michelle talk about beat the holiday blues. There are ways that you can beat the holiday blues and not be alone by yourself. So, Dr. Michelle, tell us what's coming up in your life. Like, what do you have going on that maybe we can tune into?
Absolutely. So, actually, this evening, I have another Facebook page group called Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Movement, and I'll put a link on there. But the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Movement page, we're also continuing the conversation about coping with stress and beating the holiday blues around this time of year. We've got some other great tips and other speakers that are coming on tonight, and I'll share the link on this Facebook live thread. But we're a group of just powerful women trying to make a change in our communities by sharing just great health and wellness information, and that's the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Movement Facebook page. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, you can do that there, or on my personal Facebook page, which is Doc Michelle, DOCMICHELLE.
Well, you always give good information. I appreciate you just sharing your wisdom. You know, even when I talk about things, I always like to have somebody with some expertise to come in and just back it up, you know, and say, yeah, you know, you're right, and then add in what we need to know, what we need to walk away with, so that we can be empowered to take action, to live healthy lives, and to have that self-care. Because if you don't know what to do when it comes to self-care, if you haven't been taught, if you haven't read it, then there are some things that you're going to think that's natural, that's normal, and it's not.
Right.
So we're here to give you information, to educate you, to encourage you, and to empower you into action. I wanted to give the number out to the suicide hotline because someone may need it.
Yes.
It's 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255. And I read somewhere that they were actually trying to change it to a 3-digit number, so it would be quicker for people to dial it.
Yes.
So I don't know if that has taken place yet. But that is the number. So, you know, if anybody is going through depression, you know, don't be ashamed. Give them that number. Dial it for them. So, you know, you never know. You never know a life you may save. We talked about it. We talked about suicide last week with See the Light. So you just never know. Again, you are tuned into Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. We're here on Intellectual Radio every single Monday. And I'll give you these words of wisdom. It says, self-care isn't always manicures, bubble baths, or eating healthy. Sometimes it's forcing yourself to get out of bed, take a shower, and participate in life again and again.
Yes.
So you are tuned into Warriors Talk. We're here every Monday on Intellectual Radio. And with Warriors Talk, we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
IntellectualRadio.com.
You gonna have the you gonna post the link?
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm trying to figure out like what's a good topic to kick off the new year with. I know I want to do the fibroid one.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing that video so you can look at it and then tell me what you think.
Okay.
Somebody sent me a video about it.
Yeah.
Get your glow up.
Yep. Send that to me.
What's a good topic to start the new year off with?
I mean, it's the season
On
of
the south side,
wanting to lose weight and stuff. I mean, we could
the west
talk
side,
about.
You know what I wanted to do?
the north side.
Okay, you guys, I gotta go.
Oh, we got.